The call began as a distant service, and after the end of World War II, Russian forces captured many German soldiers and engaged them in heavy labor in coal mining during the night. The prison was not very safe, but no one even tried to escape, because it was surrounded by thousands of miles of snow, and even the nearby town was besieged by, it is more than 14,000 kilometers away, but one prisoner still hoped his name would be Reed Fire, a smart and determined Reed who had been sentenced to 25 years in that prison but refused to accept that his life would end there. But he missed his wife and believed that he could get away in his heart, and one day that opportunity finally came to him, and he found a way for the young man to leave the prison and go undercover on a charcoal hauler. He felt free for the first time in years when the train went on its snow yard, but he didn't feel very free. He was not far from the prison, and he was captured a Russian rabbit. Once again, he was trapped in this place, but he was not free. Only the rain left there for 2 full days. On the 3rd morning, the prison warden came to him. I did not scream at him or threaten him. He simply said that your friends were waiting. Reed did not understand. He stood up with sticks and union rings until he returned to the other prisoners. They were denied for 2 days because they had escaped, and now their wings were about to come out. Reed was beaten very hard. He was taken to the hospital. The doctor did everything he could do to help him. Reed finally did what he had to do when he was sick and he did not gather, and he would come back and follow the doctor and try again. But this time, I needed help. The doctor looked at him in amazement. Even after all that, Reed was not ready to leave. He looked at Ridge and told him that it was impossible to escape from the prison. Even if he went out, the cold air would enter. He would kill him. But staying inside would also mean he would die slowly. The coal mines where he worked were filled with poisonous carbon dioxide, and every breath was like cancer. It was at that time that the doctor said what he didn't expect. He told him to return, no matter what. He opened his warm heart, his shoes, and all the fat he had left behind. He gave it to Red, and the doctor simply asked him why he was giving him everything because he had no time. He said he had a plan to escape, but a week ago. He knew that the doctor would die next month. That night, Reed escaped again, but this time he was walking in the dark. He didn't even stop when a wave of snow and blizzards came. He ran to the doctor's room knowing that the prison warden had escaped, but it was too late. The doctor had doubled himself. He didn't know what to do if he was caught by helping the prisoner, so he didn't jump out of his own choice. The chief warden immediately saved his life. He ordered them to bring him. They searched for days, but the heavy snow was already destroying my Ray Potato. Most of the police believed him to be dead in the cold, but the superintendent did not swallow him. He knew he was strong, and rightly so. He was still pushing on the snow. He was still pushing forward, frozen, and still did not stop walking. The last 9 days he was walking. His food was exhausted, and every step was more difficult than he had passed. The hunger in him was scarce, and the countries were stifling, but he still could not stop. He finally said that health and strength was coming to an end. His body was desperate. He fell into the snow and drowned himself. Hours later, he was healthy by the sound of his surroundings. He turned his head and was a sea animal. For the first time after a few days, the redheads picked up the gun and tried to shoot him, but his hands trembled. He was exhausted, and his only chance of surviving that little animal. He didn't want to lose it. He got up and followed it, but when he was running, the ice from underneath was rushed away. He fell into a deep cold. His feet were scarred, but he was hurt. He was hurt. I found the animal was about to slip out of the back of the rocks. After studying Rayam, this moment felt like a miracle. He found food. He ate enough and finally landed. That night, for the first time in weeks, he slept on a sunny Sunday. But he didn't end the journey. The ride was almost entirely alone. His silence, surrounded only by snow in the white world. He remembered who he was and why he had to keep going. He was testing his direction every day. He said that he was on the right path. After 2 months of walking, there was nothing that happened in the desert. A small tree was like a precious treasure. This time, it was seeing a tree. He was laughing and running toward it. That tree meant one thing. The pile of snow was finally coming to an end. It had passed through the hard journey. All the edges of the air had changed. After a long time, Reed stopped. That night, for the first time, we smoked a fire. And for the first time, he slept peacefully, surrounded by trees, and felt he was surrounded by the trees. And there must have been no police or shortage of knowledge again. On the other hand, the prison guard was still busy. They didn't want to hurt. He enlarged the search raid to 500 kilometers and ordered each soldier to bring Reed alive or dead. Here, Reed was wandering through the forest. Suddenly, a strong blizzard came. Even tall trees were being pulled up from the ground because the storm was so strong. One of these trees swung around and 100 fell on him. there too, he was almost exhausted. But the opportunity was not exhausted. That night, two strangers were walking around in search of gold, when Reed saw him and ran away from his life. Since then, he had run away with him. They finally walked down the river with him. They built a temporary wooden boat to cross the river. As they traveled, the silence between them was gone. They began to tell stories about themselves, but a storm translated with https://laratranslate.com. The boat began to sink. One of the men lost his balance and fell to the dock. Manon couldn't. The boat was sinking. The boat was sinking. He followed a stream of water. He grabbed the man by the side and saved his life. But not all the people were loyal. A third friend left them, saying that the greedy man was dead on his back. And when he arrived alone in their camp, he took the moon alone. Later, Reed and the rescued man returned to his tent, where he found a man who had been stabbed to die. After burying the body, Red and the man continued their journey, packing up the rest. Months went by, but the forests rolled back, and the winter was again covered in thick snow, and the gold was heavy. And when Reed's friend saw him lying back to carry it, Reed thought he was going to carry it for a moment, and thought Reed was trying to steal the gold, so he went to the ground alone. Reed ran away, scratching his head against the ground where Reed was shaking, and all the wheels rolled up as he walked up and started to climb up the tree, but one of his feet jumped off. It was weak, and he fell from a broken reed. He slept there in the snow and thought it was the end. He heard a loud gunshot as he was about to say goodbye to the world. When Reed opened his eyes, the wolves were dead in the forest. The rest were lost in the trees. The hunters who stood nearby were residents from the village. The hunters who had arrived at the right time took the reeds and brought them back to their cages. The people there also gave him their food. The people in the village were very blood-thanked. He had kept him here for many days and made him a family. They gave him food, shelter, and warmth that he hadn't felt for years. But one day, everything changed. A letter signed from prison came in. A German soldier who had escaped from prison and warned that anyone he could help would be considered an addict. Although he wanted to stay away, he didn't want to jeopardize the lives of those who helped him. Before he left, he decided to leave the place. How a loyal hunting dog gave him a lot of food until he and his dog arrived at the woodworking factory. The staff who followed him and took him to the house and ran to a place where he was hungry for food for days. He took all his journey back. The workers gave him lunch yesterday and arranged for his wife to ride in hiding on a train that was heading to Germany, and Adip was filled with hope that maybe he was finally going home. But that was quickly broken, and Reed didn't know what. When he approached the next station, the owner of the factory told the police that he had seen Reed's troops before he stopped flying and ran to see him on the railway tracks. But when he ran, suddenly the superintendent appeared and the Reed's dog barked and gave him a thumbs up again. The dog fell asleep, but the worst thing was that the dog did not stop running, and their escape on a passing train was in 1952, when he escaped from prison for 7 years and wandered around a village in the middle. Food suspicions took him to a tent where 2 women had packed a packet. He was looking for food, but his pocket was empty. When he turned away, his heart stopped and thanked her, but she thanked him a little. Then he grinned him. When he entered a church there, the man quietly followed him, and this man in the church, who was once a prisoner, chose to help him instead of betraying Reed. He quietly took him to his house. There, for the first time in years, Reed himself looked through a glass and smelled the beard. Reed was surprised by his kindness. Before he left, he thanked the man and set out to travel to the last part of the trip. Weeks passed. Nod finally arrived at the Russian border. They sent his passport to the hostess. The soldier did not allow him to do so easily. Erie was stunned and then laughed. He continued walking and soon walked straight to the border of the country into Germany. But as soon as he reached the mile of the bridge, he slowed down. He was the commander who stood in front of him. He could have locked him up if he wanted. The years of struggle would have ended there. But then the commander turned aside and looked at Reed, and this was a fight between 2 soldiers that won by me and you, and he had a hand, and Nurhan Reed. And he couldn't believe it when he finally crossed the border into Germany every day. He got to the place where he was, and he saw his wife and son go to church. At first, he didn't notice them, but something made her look back and she recognized him with that kiss. He ran into his arms and joined them without saying anything. The 3 of them were beaten after years of suffering, and this incredible journey is a true story of courage and the unbearable desire to survive. Let's get the story out of your mouth and make a film together. See you in the next recap. Subscribe for more movie stories.
Aniel recaps. beats in my chest and the room goes still. A soft white rush crossing over the hill. Metal on the floor like a warning sign. Hold your breath, I'm right on time. Say it low, say it clean. Something moves in between. Every step gets loud. Every shadow has a sound. Aniel recaps. Aniel recaps. Aniel recaps. Say it slow, then clap back. Aniel recaps. Aniel recaps. Aniel recaps. Hope you in the dark times back. I saw the spark in the edge of your eyes. Cold little grin when the truth walks by.